describe what, I mean, obviously it's being phased out, what would you rather see happen with those reimbursements?
For me and my involvement in this work over a lot of years, even before getting here, getting the core school funding formula right is the top priority. And I do think that there were some technical reasons that there were problems with Governor Kasich's as introduced version, and we've made big progress on that. The issue with the TPP reimbursements is those happen outside the formula. So while this formula holds all schools harmless within the core funding formula, those TPP reimbursements, that happens outside the regular formula, and so there are districts that are being significantly cut. What I think that we really need to do is dig in and look at the different types of districts who are harmed by the loss of that TPP money. Remember, this was locally voted, locally collected revenue that back in 2005, the General Assembly said, we don't like that tax, we think it's uncompetitive, we're going to get rid of it. So this was money that local communities were raising themselves, and the state stepped in and said, you can't do that anymore. So I think the state has a responsibility to help work through that issue. It is a complicated one because there are so many different school districts, so many different communities, and it plays out differently across the state. But I think that we've got to find a way over the long haul to make sure that we haven't hamstrung these communities from raising their own local money and then refuse to help make it up. And I do think that on both sides of the aisle, we are still digging in and working on that. So I do think there's going to continue to be work on that. We're certainly continuing to hear about it from people all across the state.
Would you support a longer phase out or something? Because obviously, I mean, if you make up for it somewhere else, then you've got another problem where that will be phased out later. And so, I mean, like you said, the problem is it's outside of the formula. So how do you ultimately make sure we're only running on the formula?
I think that it would be interesting to look at whether the transportation pieces and TPP, if we addressed all of those issues, along with possibly direct funding charter schools, so we aren't taking school districts' locally voted tax dollars to pass through to charter schools. I think that all of those things interact within the formula, and if we look at it comprehensively, it may not be as big of a problem as it appears to be right now.
I'd like to offer something on that too, just by way of context, because to the question earlier about areas of agreement, so we would love to take credit for the tax policy coming out of the budget. That was one of our amendments, take out the tax policy. So okay, we'll claim credit, so that was our idea. Well, there was bipartisan support for that, and as was referenced, we talked to a number of organizations, manufacturers, retailers, farmers, chambers of commerce. We talked to these guys and said, look, how do you feel about the tax policy? Because that was one of the huge issues in this budget. And so that tax policy has been removed. Some of it has been reintroduced in the sub-bill. But when you took away the tax policy, there is a pot of money there that is available. It's about $523 million that then becomes available in the budget. So I think our view of that is, instead of pushing that money back into an income tax cut that primarily is going to benefit the wealthy, we would rather see those dollars be spent strategically in the areas of education, local communities, all the things that we outlined in the very beginning, because those are things that are not only good for the students in the local communities, they drive the economy. Talk to the business owners. They will tell you they need for us to be investing smart, in workforce development, in education, in early childhood, in infrastructure. You hear it over and over again. So instead of continuing to support a failed strategy of income tax cuts, we've been doing this since 2005. Why wouldn't we take that money and invest it smart? And listen to the business community and listen to those that are doing business in Ohio. As far as the small business, we had an amendment that said, don't use this carte blanche. Everybody gets the same, reduction. Be strategic. If you're going to invest in your business, you're going to buy a piece of equipment, you're going to hire somebody, then apply for the incentive, because that incentive should go to you instead of somebody that's simply going to take those dollars and not use them to reinvest, and then no economic activity takes place, right? So we have to be strategic and smart, and I think that's what we've been calling for from the beginning, and there was an opportunity in this budget to do that when you remove the tax policy.
Overall, do you think the sub-bill is better than the original budget proposal?
Leader, would you like to take that? I feel like that's a high-level question.
That's kicking the can down the road. You know, it's about degrees. Again, the finance members are a little bit more versed in this. I would say it's marginally better. Again, for me personally, I have hyper-focused on the big pieces, and the big pieces are education, Medicaid, and the tax policy. I've been around for 18 years, and I've seen all the things we've not invested in. I've seen all the things that we've let go. There has been a conversation about early childhood development for years. We've begun to invest in it. We used an example from Florida and Arizona, and we woefully underfunded it. And the money's still there, but the language is not in. We're not sure what's going to go on with that. But it seems to lack a bit of commitment. It was already underfunded, and now we've separated and we're not focused. So, I mean, I want to see the things that we know we should do, the smart things that we know we should do, the investment in our economy, the investment in our people. When you are in a good economic upturn, that's the time to do that. If you don't do it now, I don't know when you would do it. And so we're concerned about the mixed messages about what we're doing. Nobody asked for an income tax cut. We just did this in 2005 when I was here previously. We spent 2 to 3 years evaluating how to do it to avoid unintended consequences and listening to everybody. The notion that we're doing it now seems so ideologically driven and not practical about all the things that you've heard the members of finance talk about where we need to invest. Is it better? Yeah, marginally. But you got to look at the things that we put in that hurt people and the missed opportunities, the opportunity costs involved in not doing some of the things that we know. They know it, we know it, that we need to be investing in. Just seems irresponsible.